Let me guess. Hello,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, is my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth, the birthday boy. He had a birthday 7 years ago. Isn't that right, Jake?
Ago.
Yeah.
Well, it was yesterday when we were recording this, so a week and a day ago, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
No.
We're not trying
unless
to
you're
give...
watching this 7 years in the future, then yes, my birthday was 7 years ago.
And
7
you
years,
did
1 week, and 1 day ago.
And you did have a birthday 7 years ago. Don't act like that's not true also.
I might not have. You don't know.
What?
You know? This is like the other day when we were talking about our pitches, and you said that you went back in time and erased my time-traveling pitch from my mind so that I couldn't do it right after your time-traveling pitch, which was last week.
Yes,
Or was that last week? Yeah, it was last week.
It was last week.
So maybe you erased my birthday as well.
Yeah, I did, actually. I took all your presents.
I can't remember what I was doing 7 years ago for my birthday, so maybe you did erase it.
Yeah, I took all your presents and I threw them in a big fire. That's all.
That's not very nice.
And it was very nice for me. I thought it was great. But, you know, I can see why you wouldn't think it was so nice. But you have a pitch for us, a TV show idea for us, or maybe a film?
I do. I really do. Because, you know, it's my turn, so that I have to do that. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I've got a brand new, exciting, thrilling pitch. It's called The Myre, M-Y-R-E.
Okay, M-Y-R-E.
The Myre.
All right.
What do you think The Myre's about?
I was going to say, could I guess? Now, you said thrilling, right? And you don't use the word thrilling very often, so I have to think that it is a thriller of some description, right? So I am going...
You're really hanging on to that thrilling word that I used. I think I use thrilling quite often.
No, you never use the word thrilling. I've never heard you say thrilling before in your entire life. And so I am going to say it's about a female detective, right, working in a major metropolitan area, right? She's probably got kind of a weird name. And she is discovering, like...
Okay, well, now you're just going into my generic go-to.
Yeah, she's probably discovering, like, a web of conspiracy and lies, you know?
Let me help you out here. I'll add a setting to maybe affect how you're going to guess. Mm-hmm. Late 1800s Sweden.
Sweden? Hello, I am a Swedish plumber. All right, well... What?
Well, actually, let me clarify. Late 1800s Sweden, ?
Question mark. Okay, so it's cold and mountainous, and the people are rude, just like the Swedes. There's no cell phones, so probably not a young female detective in a major metropolitan area. If I had to guess, it's probably a young woman living in, like, some sort of a desolate, snowy landscape, like a tundra of some description. She's probably got some sort of...
All right, I'm just going to stop you because you're so off. It's probably distracting the viewers from where we're going. So the question mark is important.
Okay.
In southern Sweden is a little bit more marshy as well, closer to Denmark. Because the Myre, I don't know if you just threw the word Myre out the window, but Myre is like a swampy
Yeah, I know what a
thing.
Myre is.
It is spelled M-I-R-E normally, but why I added because I think the Old Norse spelling of Myre was with a Y. I was seeing a lot of that when I was looking it up. So
I figured the Myre was metaphorical. It was like a metaphor for like the lies and like the bad shit that our main character is like stuck in.
Very good. Yeah, you think so much more highly of me than I
just
do.
a literal Myre.
So the characters. First, we have Sir Marcus Drake. Drake is a former English Army lieutenant. He carries a Martini Henry revolver, rifle. I don't know if you know what that kind of rifle is, but it's called I think it's like a breech loading rifle. Essentially, you have to slot in a bullet every time. You pop it open a little bit, and you slide the bullet in.
Martini Henry rifle, right? Oh, one of these bad boys. Okay, so like a lever action.
No, it's not a repeater.
Okay.
It's you have to load the cartridge each time. It's a bit more power. It's a lot more powerful than a repeater.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so he also has an officer's revolver that he has strapped in the inside of his pants, but there's a slit in his pants. So imagine like, you're wearing jeans or something, right? And there's a thin cut in the jeans, and if you reach through, you can grab the revolver and pull it.
All right, like...
So it's like you can't see it normally, but...
Yeah.
And you can see that there's a cut in the jeans, but it doesn't, and it's a very thin cut, so you can't actually, it's not like you're seeing the revolver. Mm-hmm. It's like he could slightly dip his hand in and pull it out.
All right.
He's very cosmopolitan, has a very high opinion of himself, but he's not like,
it's not a douchebag.
Upper class, like, oh, I can't touch mud. He's okay with getting stuck in the mud and get into a scrap.
He just thinks he's the best.
He's not someone who will complain. Yeah, he just thinks he's hot shit. Mm-hmm. He's not someone who's going to complain a lot. He has a mild opium addiction, and is a very heavy sleeper. He also is a bit of a magician, so he can do like card tricks and stuff.
Okay. And is he using his magic to like entertain children, or is that like one of his like he's a pickpocket and that sort of thing? Like he's able to use his magic to like distract people while his compatriots do some such nonsense? Or is he just like close up magic?
Like he kind of uses it in like sort of fighting scenarios, like to either slip his gun away or pull out a knife really quick.
Okay.
It's all just sleight of hand tricks that he does, which help him out in fights.
Yeah.
But he'll do card tricks at like camp and stuff.
Okay, cool.
Just to entertain people. So he's dressed in a very ragtag version of his army uniform. He's got torn pants. He's got his hat folded to the side, like like the brim of the hat's like kind of folded up. And he wears an unbuttoned tan army shirt.
Okay. And like
next we had Harold Hardin. Oh,
I was gonna say like, and he's got like a wife beater underneath of it.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Some just white shirt.
Yeah.
Right. Next we have Harold Hardin. He's a hardened logger. He's Norwegian, but he's lived in Canada for a really long time. Carries a great woodsman's axe and a boomstick, which is like a big harpoon-looking weapon.
Oh, I love
those. Basically, just is a harpoon, but it just shoots out this big fucking spear.
Okay, so I've always heard boomsticks referred to as like it's like a staff with a shotgun shell taped to the end of it, and you whack somebody with it and it blows up. Is it like that?
It blows up. No. So this is like a big. Imagine this is like a giant spear, right? That he can whack people with, but he can also shoot it, and it will impale somebody and blow up.
Like a harpoon gun.
But it only has one shot.
Yeah.
He has to go grab the harpoon after it blows
up.
Because the harpoon, when it blows up, I mean, he'll have to get more explosive, but he can still grab like this central spear thing. It's not a big explosive charge. It's like a little fiery charge.
Yeah. Like napalm.
High explosive, but not. Yeah, fiery stuff.
All right, cool.
Okay. I didn't write anything else that he's wearing besides cutout sleeves. So he definitely has cutout sleeves with what he's wearing. Maybe just a vest with some cutout sleeves or
show off his big arms. He's probably got like a bunch of cool like tattoos because he's like a lumberjack living in Canada kind of a guy, Yeah. I'm imagining him as
he's a heavy drinker,
bald with a big bushy beard,
Yeah, he could have a nice big beard. Maybe braided beard too.
I love a braided beard. That's grand. I love a braided beard.
So he's a very heavy drinker, and he likes to talk a lot of shit, and he's a big gambler as well. But he's deaf in his left ear.
Yeah.
So you can only hear out of his right. Next we have Captain Abraham Cannon. He's a Mexican-American war veteran, so he's American.
Yeah.
He lost 2 fingers on his right hand, so now he shoots with his left hand. He's not a perfect shot with his left hand, but he's good enough. He uses a Winchester repeater, so now we have the repeater, and a Lamat revolver. Now, I don't know if you know what a Lamat revolver is from your time playing Red Dead Redemption.
I had so many Lamat revolvers.
It's a 6-shooter revolver that switches to a shotgun. Has one shotgun slot in it.
So cool. It's the coolest gun in that game and in real life. If I ever went back in time to cool. Cowboy times, that would be the gun I would want to pick.
He's a bit more nicely dressed than the others. He's got like a long white collared shirt and dark working pants, but he's got well kempt hair, and he has a pale, like very worn pale red vest on. He's very quiet and tends to wander off on his own, and he seems to only speak English. So the other characters we'll see speak other languages, like Sir Marcus Drake and Harold Hardane both speak some version of Swedish, and Cannon just speaks English. Obviously, both of them also speak English as well. Yeah. Next, we have Irene Caldwell, who speaks every language, basically. Okay. She's an English woman who claims to be the daughter of a Navy captain. She's a very good navigator and is the one leading them through the swamp, which we'll get to in a little bit. Only carries a long knife and a single-shot Sparks pistol. So a Sparks pistol, it's essentially like a rifle that they just cut off the the barrel until it was small enough to be a pistol. Mm-hmm. So it's also like the like the Martini Henry, where it's a breech loading rifle where you have to load in a bullet each time. But it's only got it's very small because she's they've sawed off the barrel.
It's kind of like a flintlock pistol almost, but not exactly.
Yeah. No, yeah, because a flintlock you need to like load powder and stuff, but you just have to load a bullet in this. She's friendly, but not overly so, and we'll get into her role a bit more as the navigator. And lastly, we have Marie Laveau. She's French, but lives in New Orleans. Despises everyone, particularly Drake. He's English, so she's French. Makes sense. Carries a sawed-off chassepots. A chassepots is I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's basically the French's version of the Martini Henry, but she has it sawed off, so it's not as short as the pistol, but like sort of like a medium length. So you couldn't like put it in like a holster, is what I'm saying. You'd have to sling it over your back, and she's got a scope on it as well. So it's a little less heavy, is what I'm saying. And she's able to load it a little quicker, and she has a scope which no one else has. So a little bit of money to her. She's got a dress on, but she's severed a bit of the skirt. She's got a canvas jacket on as well. So she looks like she's not really prepared for this, but she sort of became prepared. Like she didn't come here knowing she'd be doing this, but now she's ready for it.
Jane from Tarzan vibes is what I'm getting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But French and kind of a dick is what we'll get into as well.
All right.
Are you ready for the pilot, or do you have any thoughts, predictions? Maybe?
I am going, now that I have been given the characters and the setting, and I find out that the Myre in the titular Myre is not actually metaphorical, but it's actual literal Myre. I'm going to assume that this is an action show, right? You wouldn't detail all these cool weapons, right, if it wasn't like an action-packed adventure show. And they're going to be searching for some sort of a lost Swedish treasure in the swamps of Sweden, the Swedish swamps, where they keep the Swedish fish.
Yeah, sort of. So we're gonna open up on the pilot in a murky swamp, as you assumed, as I stated, as 4 hunters and a guide, so not the same hunters we have here, and a guide walk through the muddy refuse. The guide tells them to follow, but one of the hunters, a tough-looking guy with an eye patch, tells the group he sees something ahead. He sees something like twinkling, shining in the light, and they follow him instead. The guide says no, and she's really insistent that they don't go that way. We can see sort of glimpses of her face, and kind of looks like Irene, but she's got a hood on, and everyone else is kind of it's very dark and shadowy, so we don't really get a good look at any of these people. The guide says, she's like, don't go, and you shouldn't go that way at all. It's a bad thing. Don't do that. And he pulls a knife on her, and he says he knows that she's been leading them to their death, like all the others, and he's not going out like them. And they all follow him, the eye patch guy, down a circular stone staircase into the ground. At the bottom, they enter a doorway, and they see a blue symbol on the wall. It's kind of childlike. It's like just lines. It's just a shape. You don't really know what it means
yet.
The eye patch man walks forward, is about to say something about the symbol, like he knows what it is, and then his head is split in two, so top to bottom, not side to side.
Oh, I love a top to bottom head split. A bisected head. That's rad.
But then the whatever splits him in two, this like sharp object, doesn't just sever straight through his whole body. It gets stuck on like his neck afterwards. There's like a crunch and like blood squirting out and all that. It's
great.
And so we cut from that. Everyone starts shooting. A scream echoes out, and the guide sprints out of the pathway and up the steps, completely covered in blood. Gunshots continue to go off, and yells are going everywhere. And as she's sprinting through the woods, and the gunshots slowly stop, but she hears pounding behind her, so something's chasing her. And she trips and falls when she flips over, like a shadowy furry shape jumps on her, and just as it goes above her, she pulls out a gun and shoots. And just as the fire, like we hear the gunshot, we cut to black.
The Myre.
A tavern on the edge of the swamp is bustling with boisterous laughing and drinking. Some people are bragging over their latest haul. One man hoists a massive furry corpse onto the table to show it off, like huge, like this, the size of the whole length of this big long table that tons of people are on. He just hoists this huge beast on top of it that you don't even really get a good look at because there's so much fur and tangled bits of claw
and blood
and
like
it's mangled because it's been shot so many times as well. Yeah. And the barmaid yells at him to get that thing off the table, but he just laughs her off. And that's when Sir Marcus Drake walks up to them and yells at them to put it away, and in the name of good hygiene and being uncivilized. They laugh at him because they're like, oh, he's trying to stick for the fucking barmaid. Like, what the hell are you? Like he's trying, he's like being a white knight, And he's like, no, actually, I just like to find an excuse to hit people. I'm not standing up for her. And on that prompt note, they try to punch him. And so he punches that dude in the face. And he kicks the shit out of him. So we just have him he's got this dude over the table, just punching him in the face over and over and over again. And that's when his friends come over and toss Drake off him and start trying to kick the shit out of him. But he rolls away and he reaches into his pant leg and draws his revolver, which causes them to back off. And he gets yelled at by the barmaid for bringing a gun inside. And she's about to take the gun from him. And then all of a sudden, sleight of hand, it disappears. He's like, I don't know where it's gone. I don't know what happened to it. And she's annoyed, but she just walks off. And the trio turn back at him, seeing that he doesn't have a gun anymore. And they try to approach him, but a chair scoots out and blocking their path. And there's Captain Abraham Cannon, who introduces himself, and he's like, if you can either take another step forward, or me and my friend here, my North American friend here, who points to Harold Hardane, who's across the table from him, who immediately objects to being called North American because he's Norwegian. But he's lived in Canada for a while, so
he's got the accent. Doesn't matter where you're from. If you have the accent, you're a native. So
the trio goes away, the burly dudes, but they're kind of pissed off. And Drake thanks Harold and Abraham for their help and sits down with them. And Cannon tells him that he was just doing it so they can get a bit of quiet before the next name drawing, and so he can finish his supper. He didn't want a fight going on right behind him. He's like, he's going to get pushed or something.
Yeah.
And going to get something spilled on him. Doesn't want that, it's annoying.
Of course.
Meanwhile, in the back of the room, Marie Laveau is arguing with a group of Prussians. And they try to shove her away. And she's she's a little violent. So when they shove her, she immediately pulls a knife out, a kitchen knife out from like a holster nearby, and stabs the dude that just shoved his hand into a wooden pole next to him.
I was gonna say she's gotta stab him through the hand and stick him into a piece of wood somewhere. Like that's the obvious next step.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you and I were on the same page. Stabbed through the hand into a table, or you said a pole, like one of the support beams.
Yeah, it's like a support beam. That's just as soon as she pushes him, and it's when you push somebody, your hands to go out, so both of his hands are straight. And in like one quick motion, she grabs a knife and stabs his hand into the pole. Yes, very cool. And well, obviously this isn't going to go well, but quickly before she's, the Prussians are able to, fucking beat the shit out of her because she just stabbed one of them, or at least, get her in trouble somehow. Near the back of a tavern, a door pushes open, and everyone in the whole tavern turns around, and they see Irene Caldwell entering, covered in blood. And she's still holding a gun in her hand. It's not still smoking, obviously, but it's clearly just been fired. Or recently. Maybe
because you know how when you is she the one with the like all pseudo flintlock?
The sparks pistol. Yeah.
The hammer will be down, right? That'll be the indicator.
Yeah.
Surely.
Maybe the barrel's split too.
Oh, I love a split barrel. That's great. Like a blunderbuss.
Just a little bit. So everyone turns to see her, and immediately the whole room is like just shrouded in silence. The once boisterous hall is now just completely silent. Everyone's looking at her, and she rushes into a side room that's guarded by a big burly man dressed all in black. Which, the whole bar is looking at this, which allowing Laveau to slip away from the Prussians. And then, Abraham, Hardane, and Marcus Drake, we cut back to them, and they're talking about what this means. Like, this means the last crew probably, they probably didn't make it. And one of them's, Hardane's like, that's like her third crew. What is that, like crew number 6, 7 that she hasn't brought back?
Yeah. Jesus.
And a man shuffles out of the room that that Irene was just in, and goes to a big, large chalkboard on the that takes up almost an entire wall of this tavern, and it's got all these names written on it. And he goes up to it and he scratches out 4 names on a wall. For each one, the whole tavern pounds their glasses on the table, and on the last one, they all finish their drinks.
Okay. Do they put a tick next to her name?
No.
Okay.
No. Her name's, well, we'll get into it, but her name's not on the wall.
All right.
So with that, they drink and eat and enjoy their night until a man comes out with a hat and draws a name. So everyone is excited as the name's going to be called. This is a big ceremony. Everybody wants to be called. And that's when Sir Marcus Drake is called. And there is a bit of a... First another person is going to be called, and he's going to go up there, and he's going to start, picking off it's kind of like, dodgeball or whatever. Like you have the team captains, then you pick off your teammates, So he gets called, some guy gets called up there, he goes off and he names like 4 guys, and they all come up, and everyone's cheering, they're like excited for them. And they get paired up with a navigator, and they're like, they're going to set off, and everyone's excited. And then they're like, all right, time to name the other person. And Sir Marcus Drake is called up. And there's a bit of a commotion about it and a light brawl as people are angry that he's called up after only a short time waiting. So he's as the audience, we don't really understand what they're upset about, but they're like, okay, so he hasn't been here for long, and he's already been called up. Like his name was already picked in the hat, and there's people here that clearly have been waiting to be called to go out for this hunt, whatever it is. So he must go up, and people have to, raise their hands to volunteer, and hands start going up because everyone wants to go. Everyone wants to be a part of this hunt, but one of the trio stands up and he says that anyone who raises their hand, he's going to kill them when they get back. Anyone that fights with this guy. He's gonna kill him. And the guy that's calling the name says, like, you're not allowed to do this. Do not worry. You are protected as long as you're inside of our tavern. But names go down, or the hands go down anyway. So clearly,
I'm just thinking,
Mr. Marcus Drake has fucked up.
I think it would be a pretty funny gag if the guy still has his hands stuck in the pole, and as soon as the dude says,
this is a different guy than the the Prussians that
I know. I'm just saying the Prussian still has his hand stuck in the pole, and it's like above his head, right? And that's where the stab happened. And as soon as the other dude says, anyone who's got their hand up, I'm going to kill you, he just, like, he really starts really trying to pull the knife out really hard. He's just, like, really worried, just in the background. Not, like, we don't focus on it at all. He's like,
oh my God, we can see that,
I don't want to pull, I'm not, it's not up on purpose. It's not my fault. Yeah. That'd be a good gag.
Maybe, like, if we want to highlight the brutality of it, he just yanks his hand out of it.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I didn't know how dark you wanted to make it.
Just tears straight up.
Yeah, just brutal. Right between the two fingers, right between the middle and the ring. Oof. The worst.
Right, well, why? Yeah, he either does that or he just pulls it out, pulls his hand out. Because who would just yank their hand out, you know? Or when you just pull the blade out and put it back in.
But maybe he can't pull the blade out.
But it would look cool if he just yanked
his hand out. Like,
maybe he can't reach it. Maybe it's really high up. He can't reach it. Okay, so the only, no one's raising their hand, and which means that he's gonna have to go alone. But just before the timer runs out, essentially, Cannon offers himself up, and so does Hardane. So now he's got two people. Well, this kind of works actually. So maybe that guy yanks his hand out of the thing, and then the Prussians find her, and Marie Laveau sort of runs off and tries to jump up and grab that knife that's in the wood. And when she does, she raises her hand, and she gets picked for this as well. There you go.
That's great.
So that night, they all go outside and they're given their weapons. So we get to see all their cool weapons. They load them. This is going to be sort of a neat gearing up sequence that we've got.
Maybe you have one of them.
And they meet their guys.
You have the big. You have the bald, beardy dude who likes to make bets. He's like, "You bet I could hit that." He points to like this impossible target. He's talking to Drake. He just points to an impossible target. It's like, "You reckon I could hit that with this spear?" And Drake's like, "No. How much you want to bet? 20 pound or whatever it is." And then with that, like, Drake obviously doesn't know that he can fire the spear out, and so he just fires it and he hits the thing. And that could just
absolutely nails it. Yeah.
And Drake just has to, God damn it. All right, here. And he hands him a 20 quid. And the beardy guy's like, yes. And do you know where I could get a ladder so I can get that down? Because I really need that back. That's kind of part of the thing.
I need that, yeah. It's a big part of that weapon. I only got the one spear. So they meet their guide as well, Irene Caldwell, which Drake immediately whispers to Cannon, like, isn't that the one that just led her crew to the death? And he's like, and Cannon's like, yeah, the seventh one. And he's like, oh, okay. That's obviously not enthused about having the one navigator that has led her last 7 crews to their death.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Just reevaluating everything in his mind. He's being like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, clearly have made a couple mistakes in your life. So they head out into the night, and they go along the trail bickering until Irene halts them at a water crossing. And they all climb into a small boat, and she tells them not to move at all, and she will paddle. So, they all listen to her. They all climb into the boat. They don't move at all. Very quiet. And she's slowly paddling down. And she's not, she's a small person, She's not paddling very quickly, and this is a big gap in the water. And as she's, going along, Harold is getting increasingly frustrated. And eventually he just grabs the paddle from her and he's like, I'll fucking do it, okay? And he starts paddling a lot quicker, which upsets the water. And she, of course, immediately screams no when he does this. And he starts paddling fast and upsets the water, as I just said. And all these fanged fish start jumping out of the water and start biting at the boat, like taking out big chunks of the wood. And also like trying to hit them as well. We'll see like one go right up to fucking Captain Abraham Cannon. He has to like swing his rifle in front of him, and it like bites onto the steel of the rifle. And like it can't bite through the steel, but it takes a little chunk out of the wood that's also part of the repeater. And so Harold kind of freaks out a little bit and tries to hand the oar back to Irene, who's like, fuck no, you need to paddle now, and you need to do it quick, like go, 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 go. And so he's paddling quickly, and one of the fish jumps up and bites him. And so he's got like a fish just like hanging onto his arm. And they get to shore, and Irene like pulls it out and tells him that like she like asking if anyone else was bit. No one else was bit, and she tells him that they're poisoned, and he's gonna die, and they have to leave him. Which Abraham is not a big fan of, and neither is Sir Drake. Because they're like, we're not leaving our friend behind. We're gonna bring him back to the inn. She's like, we can't move him. He's in a few minutes he'll be paralyzed. There's no way we can carry him back. They're like, what do we do? And she's like, I can gather some stuff from the woods around us and try to make something to help him out a little bit. He's not gonna die, but the poison just paralyzes him for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So the fish can get you in the water and eat you.
Yum yum yum.
So she's gonna try to make something to try to make the poison go away quicker, and so they have to set up camp. But it's very clear that Irene doesn't want to stay here. Like, she already kind of sees this as a failure. I need to get out of here. Mm-hmm. But Abraham insists that they treat her, and he has Sir Drake watch her, make sure she doesn't run away. She's very skittish. And so they've set up like a little tent. They've got Harold in it. Irene's there treating him, and they've got Sir Drake guarding them both at the doorway. And outside, Marie Laveau and Sir Abraham Cannon are sort of walking around the camp, patrolling a little bit, looking for anything that's out there. And the way this episode's going to end is that a beast is going to attack the camp, and it's going to tear through most of them. Marie Laveau is going to try to fight it, but she's going to ultimately, jump behind a tree. Maybe she gets torn up a little bit by this hulking bear thing, monster thing, and ultimately the way it's going to tear into the tent. And Sir Drake is going to get caught into like a really long fight with this bear, trying to defend Irene and Harold, and is able to lead it away a little bit. And ultimately, the way it gets killed is that Captain Abraham Cannon leaps down from a tree and holds his Lamat revolver, shotgun, pistol onto the back of its head and blows its brains out. It'd be very cool to see like a big hole in its head, and the brains will fall down.
Maybe it's like.
Sir Drake.
It's on top of Drake, about to maul him, like about to rip into his neck. And that's when Captain Cannon jumps on top and blows its brains out, and its brains just get splattered all over Drake's face, and the bear collapses on top of him, but he's still alive. And then, we have Captain Cannon pulling Drake out as Drake is concerned about Harold and what's her name? I can't remember her name. Something. Irene's safety,
Irene Caldwell.
I wonder where you got the last name Caldwell from. I wonder which person in your real life you got that last name from.
You're gonna think it's somebody important, but if you played Dishonored, that's the last name of Emily Caldwell, and
I figured it was one of our high school teachers.
I stole from that, if you're wondering. No, it's not our high school history teacher.
Also has a podcast.
Anyway, he does have a competing
exactly.
podcast. He also pitches TV shows. We should sue him. Anyway, so that's the pilot. That's where the pilot ends, killing this beast. Where it kind of goes from there is that they'll get back in the second episode, and everyone will be surprised that they've made it back alive, and so they'll get lots of cheers. This is almost more impressive than any other big hunts because they've got this big beast with them, but people are not, other people have made it back killing this beast before that they've killed. It's a very common, menacing beast, but people are impressed because it was Irene's crew that did it, and she's lost the last 7, so the 8th, eighth's the charm.
Lucky 8th charm.
And so they get let into the sort of the hunters club, or the people that are have a crew, club, which is on the second floor of this tavern and kind of overlooks the bottom floor. And so they'll meet some other groups there, but they'll continually the way this show is going is that we'll do a trip probably every episode, or every 2 episodes will be a trip out, depending on how long it is. And they'll constantly be doing ventures into the swamp to kill beasts and bring them back. And as they kill bigger beasts, they'll do they've earned enough reputation with the people working there, and the navigators will allow them to do even more dangerous hunts for even more dangerous beasts deeper into the swamp. And where do you think this show is ultimately going?
I don't know. I have to imagine that the navigator, whose last 7 crews died, right? She's tied some way to the hunting, right? And that the hunting is kind of like, it's like a pseudo-religious sort of like thing. Like it's almost like a religious ceremony that you go out and hunt. And this culture is sort of like a cult-like hunting civilization because it is Sweden ? Right? But
the reason it's Sweden ? Which I'm going to get into now. So as we're going to go through this show, there's like everybody wants to kill these monsters, and it's all about proving yourself to be a good warrior. That's what this whole thing is. And we'll get a couple hints throughout, but ultimately, it's going to be revealed that they're in essentially Viking purgatory.
Okay, so I was going to say maybe they're in Valhalla, but you're saying they're not. They're in... Have you ever...
They're in Viking purgatory. They're trying to reach Valhalla.
You've played Skyrim, right? So, at the end of Skyrim...
Is it Sovngarde?
Yeah, the end of the story, right? You have to talk to that guy to get into the big hall that is basically Valhalla, right? But before that, you're just wandering through this kind of like misty, marshy Myre, land with beasts and stuff. And so they're kind of like in that area.
Yeah, and they're trying to become worthy enough to go to Valhalla is the idea here.
Okay.
And we'll get the idea as we go on that all these people have actually died. So the reason that Sir Marcus Drake is a heavy sleeper and he's an opium addict, he was and he's got like a torn up uniform, is that he was on campaign and with his his unit, and he was on guard duty and he fell asleep.
Okay.
While he was,
he was
drugged
high,
out of his mind. Abraham Cannon, he's missing 2 fingers, but he got that from an explosion when his gun exploded in the Mexican-American War, and it blew up in his face, and it blew off his fingers and also cut him up, and he spent like days in the hospital until he finally died.
Lead poisoning or something like that.
Then we have Harold Hardane. So he's a heavy drinker, talks a lot of shit, a gambler, and deaf in one ear. So, I mean, you can kind of assume how he died.
Gambling addiction.
It's not too hard to tell that
loan sharks.
That he won some money off of somebody he shouldn't have, and he didn't know that they were coming up next to him, and they fucking
blew his brains out.
Cut him up. Irene Caldwell, she is not dead. She's like essentially, I don't know what the Viking comparison would be of like, not an angel, but like something like that, where she's like, she's supposed to try to help them through this, but she's not very good at it. Like she's some sort of magical, like a witch or something. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of what
what their equivalent.
What the Christian
she could be
version of that would be.
What's the well, I would just say an angel, but the Christian version. But like, she could be a what's the thing that they have, the warriors, the Viking warrior woman?
The Valkyries. Valkyrie. Yeah, she could be a Valkyrie. That would be cool. Maybe she's got a whole bunch of tattoos.
Really shitty Valkyrie.
The worst Valkyrie. That can be her title.
And Marie Laveau, she got killed in a flood.
That's not very exciting. Well, that would explain her clothes all being like torn, like she was dressed nice, but then all the clothes are torn up and turned into like, more action ready.
So maybe she got there was a flood and she like almost died. She gets out of the city, and the first person she finds to help her just robs her.
Oh yeah, and kills her. Yeah,
takes her shit and leaves.
Very, very nice. And I'm assuming we would do it like I think it would be bad to do an episode where we reveal everyone's backstory. I think it would be better idea to just kind of give the backstories piecemeal throughout the story, throughout the season,
Yeah, I think the way it will work, essentially, is that they think their backstories are just, like, how they died is just kind of what happened to them before they came here. So we would get these stories throughout of, like, oh, I lost these 2 fingers in the Mexican-American War.
Yeah.
Or, I'm not in the British Army anymore because I fell asleep, and when I woke up, everyone in my camp was dead. So, I fucked up there.
Yeah. Fell asleep.
The logger guy will be like, oh, I'm deaf because I was playing poker, and, I got a bunch of money, and somebody had tried to shoot me in the back of the head, but I swiveled my head to the side. He shot the gun.
Yeah.
And then I, tackled him, beat the shit out of him.
Beat him up. Didn't get...
But we'll learn, later on that obviously none of this happened. And
they all died being bad guys. And are all of the guides women? Because I think that would add to the Valkyrie sort of comparison.
That could work. Yeah, that's good. And like Viking mythology, it's always like women are the only ones that do magic anyway, so that would be better too.
That makes sense. So they're kind of like pseudo witch, warrior, guide people.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And do we have like a explosive finale planned?
A very, very, not really. Obviously, it's going to be a huge fight against something that's incredibly powerful.
Probably,
cool.
I would say a dragon.
There'll be lots of shooting.
Right, like Beowulf style dragon. That could be cool.
Or should it be against other hunters?
Ooh, that would also be good.
Sort of Hunger Games kind of thing. They're trapped in an arena and they're fighting each other.
Or they could...
I don't know, one or the other. I'm fine with either. But like...
Maybe it's like a sort of situation...
They all have to prove themselves as
Maybe you could have a sort of situation where halfway through the series, right, this new threat emerges in the forest. It's no longer just like beasts, it's something more intelligent, but just as vicious, and people don't know what it is, right?
Yeah.
But their, compatriots keep going missing, they keep finding beasts, mutilated in the woods, more so than normal. And it can be revealed that like this mystical, swampy area, forest kind of situation is not, infinite. It doesn't go on forever, right? There's another side, right? There's another river, and on the other side of that river is another tavern with another band of hunters, right? And so it could be kind of like the gods are playing a cruel joke on us by making us compete against the fellow dead, for their approval and their amusement, Yeah. That could be your thing, or they fight a big dragon. Either way, it'd be cool.
Either way,
and they could also just fight a dragon in a regular episode, and then have the like evil hunters, or not even evil, just like they're both trying to accomplish the same goal, and only one of them can. So it's more competition as a necessity, rather than actual malice towards each other, And maybe we have one of...
I forgot to mention this as well. There's something I forgot to mention. In the first episode, when Captain Abraham Cannon is, scouting around the camp looking for a monster, he's going to see a guy, essentially, far away, who's, shrouded, has a big cloak on. He's got a hood over his head, and there's a crow on his shoulder.
I was going to say...
And he's going to see that, and he's going to report it back when he's at, He's not going to mention it to anyone until he gets, back to the tavern, and he's going to talk with some of the other crews to see if anyone's seen that before. And there's only going to be one really old guy who knows. He's going to say, that's the Spectre. It's only shows himself to the best hunters, and it's either a sign of good luck or of imminent doom. And we'll see the Spectre every once in a while throughout, and it'll be revealed, obviously, that it's Odin, because it's Vikings. But that'll be one of the hints that it's
I figured in that little, interstitial, starting story, right? The guy with the eye patch was Odin. Was kind of the idea that I was getting.
Oh, no, that's just some guy.
No, because I was like, maybe it's Odin and he's leading these, idiots, to their deaths because he just gets amused to watch mortals get themselves killed, Because that could be a fun thing, but also I get why you don't want to do that. You don't want the first character to make a bad decision in your show to be the main bad guy. Not even bad guy, just kind of cruel trickster god almost. Yeah, but
Yeah, I kind of want Odin to be just sort of a spectator, you know? Like, he's kind of always looking on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not really meddling thing. Maybe it's the other gods that are the ones meddling.
Yeah, we have Loki.
But he's just watching out, you know? And he's like, we'll have whoever the actor is that plays him, right? We'll have like an unmakeup version of him who's like also at the bar always in the background.
I figure Odin kind of has to be
like always in the tavern, drinking alone at a table, just sort of watching on at everyone else.
And I don't think we can ever draw attention to it. I think it just kind of has to be a background thing. We can never have one of our characters be like, "Who's that guy?" I don't know. He's been coming in here as long as any of us can remember, right? We can't have anything like that.
It's just got to be a little Easter egg for the viewers.
Yeah, we can have I think it would be fun to have like episodes. Obviously, can't do it every episode because then it would just be like a sitcom special guest star Norse god. But it would be cool if you had like one episode Freya was in it or Loki. You know, maybe they have a beast, right? And this beast has been like, you know, trampling people. It's like this massive, enormous horse, you know, with 8 legs or whatever. And then, you know, obviously anyone who knows about Norse mythology knows that's Loki. Or Loki's kid.
Yeah, I don't... The thing is, I don't want it to be ever, like, obviously apparent that this is Loki. Like, he's never be like, oh, I'm Loki, you know? It'll just be, like, vaguely... You could maybe make a vague connection to them.
Maybe, like, they get stabbed, you know, the beast dies... Right, and all of our heroes, you know, they congratulate each other and they celebrate, and then they look back and the beast is gone, you know. And we could have like maybe a rune. I guess the most explicit I think you would want to get with it was maybe there's a rune drawn in the blood of this creature that died, right? But I think that even then might be pushing it a little too close to revealing that these are the Norse gods and this is like Norse purgatory, because I like the ambivalence of these gods and kind of like the ambiguity of your interactions with the rest of these people. I think it's cool. Yeah, but yeah, I liked it. All
right, well that's the Myre. That's my show.
The Myre. I liked it quite a bit. I would watch that show. Do you have any casting ideas?
Josh Brolin plays Captain Abraham.
I was gonna say Josh Brolin plays Odin, but that works too. Both work.
Maybe we bring back Anthony Hopkins for
Anthony Hopkins will play Odin.
Let's do it again.
Chris Hemsworth will play Thor. This is in the MCU.
Who should play Mr. Marcus Drake? British, tough-looking guy, kind of a.
Come on, man.
Not like a dick.
You can say it. A little bit of a dick. Your hero, your man crush. You can say it.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. You know, he's not Cillian Murphy.
Cillian
Murphy's Irish. You mean Henry Cavill? Oh, yeah, Henry Cavill could be Drake.
He might have to lose a little bit of muscle, right? Like slim down a little bit. I'm not imagining Drake as being like absolutely fucking built like Henry Cavill is, but you know, slim him down a little bit, and I think he would make a great Drake. You know. I think Henry Cavill, he's kind of typecast as being a good person, and I'm like, or not a good person, kind of, I like Drake, he's a little bit of a sleazebag, you know?
Yeah, just a little bit of a dick.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me has always been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Goloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat. And remember, we will be here next week with a brand new televisual series for you to imagine and enjoy, baby. Oh, and I have a title for it. Ooh, haha. Yeah.
Very nice.
All right.
All right, goodbye.